and this is how creating a morning routine helped me pay off all of my debt. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ebony, or most commonly referred to on this channel as Broke Blogger. I share my lifestyle on my personal channel, and I share how I got out of debt and all of my financial journey on my Broke Blogger channel. Welcome back to Broke Blogger, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I created a morning routine and how that helped me pay off all of my debt. So I'm just going to jump straight into it today so we can get to the juicy parts. But long story short, I was a bit of a hot mess. Actually, I think I'd refer to myself as organized chaos in my early 20s. I knew what I wanted and I knew what I was doing in my life, and I was always early. I was never running late. I wasn't one of like those people, but I was more just like live for the day, for the moment. I never live for the future, if that makes sense. So I was like pretty organized daily, but like only in the day. And I also winged a lot of my life. So a lot of things that have come to me have come pretty easy, and I'm really good at winging it. It's probably one of my strengths. But I was going through my early 20s with not a lot of goals, financial goals, I guess you could say. I had a lot of like personal goals and lifestyle goals and all of that, but my financial goals have sort of just gone out the window, and I really just let that go. And it wasn't until one night where I was like, couldn't sleep, and I didn't know what was going on. It was probably my first ever time having like financial credit card debt anxiety, if that makes sense. And I just knew right then and there that this had to stop, and that I did not want this to be my life at all. Like, I was just like, I'm done. So it was that night that I decided two things, and I was like really just challenging myself. The first was no takeout for a month, and the second was waking up at 6 a.m. every day. I had honestly just come off like a chaotic month of work, and so I was heading into the month of November, and I was like, absolutely no takeout for this entire month, no drive-throughs, no breakfasts, nothing. And every day I'm gonna wake up at 6 regardless of whether I work or I don't, so that every day has structure to it. And I was like, I'll just do it for a month and see what happens. Like, I was honestly just challenging myself personally. I've always been quite a competitive person myself, so I was like, I'm literally just gonna challenge myself and see what happens. But the most amazing thing happened. Like, it's honestly like every self-help book has ever said before, but I literally started to pull my life together. So the hardest thing I think was like, I could wake up at 6 a.m. that was fine. It was more or less the going to bed at a suitable hour so that the 6 a.m. wake up wasn't such a shock. But then not going to the drive-thru on the way home from work, especially when I felt really, really tired, was like such like a hard thing for me to do. And so if you are like currently feeling that, like, it is honestly like such a hard thing. But that was at least 3 or 4 years ago now, and so that's when I snapped out of like having takeaway like 3 to 4 times a week to literally having it like once a week, if that now. But back to how this all helped me pay off my debt before we get onto a massive tangent. Adding those two things and that challenge to my life really got my head clear. So waking up at 6 a.m. when I didn't have to normally wake up till about 8, it let me do two things in the morning. One, it got me to exercise in the morning, and two, it got me to set my day straight. So I would spend probably the first hour exercising, and then the second hour I would spend making my lunch and like journaling or creating a to-do list or reflecting on what my day was going to be. And I would go to work and my head would be so clear that I would come home from work and be like, yes, I've already exercised, I've already done this, I've already done that, I've literally only got to make dinner and I'm good. So two, having that extra hour early in the morning where I could make my lunch before I go to work. And like, if you make your lunch the night before you go to work, like, bless to you. But like, I always cook mine the morning before, and I find that when I don't cook mine the morning before, what do? You guessed it, I spend money at work on lunch. So that whole month, I didn't spend any of my additional like money that I'd put away for groceries or eating out at work. So I had like 50 to 60 bucks just sitting there left over from the month, and I was like, where is all this money coming from? So I was like, oh my God, that is how much money I spend on food every day. So one of the first and the biggest change that I seen was that when I was more organized as a person, less money was being spent because I wasn't having to buy a lunch. I wasn't having to buy a breakfast on the way to work. I wasn't having to buy dinner on the way home from work. And then just adding the challenge of no takeaway really just cut out that entire amount of money that I was like, oh my God, it's still sitting here. Like, what? And so the first month I was like, oh, cool, like an extra $50, $60, whatever it was. I was like, sweet, cool. I'm gonna go and like treat myself to whatever. However, then the debt anxiety rolled back in, and this time it rolled back in really hard because I was like, wait a second. If this is how much money I'm saving from just like organizing my life, what could I do if I really look at what's going on, or like what's going on with my money or anything along those lines? So then the next thing that I did, and like honestly, this comes from creating a morning routine, but the next thing that I did was write a budget. So this one morning I was like sitting at home, I'd like talked about budgets, blah, blah, blah. And I was like on like a minimum budget, if that makes sense. Like, you know, like what to do to make sure my bills were being paid. That's fine. But then this one morning, because I had this whole hour, I was writing a to-do list. I was like, I'm gonna write like a full on debt paying off budget. Like, what can I bring everything back down to the bare minimum so that I only have like my bills, my necessities to live and breathe being paid, and all the other money can go to debt. So then the next month I challenged myself, and it was even worse because it was December, but I challenged myself to live on the absolute bare minimum. And then when the new year rolled around, like I would treat myself. So for my 2 December paychecks, and like this, it honestly just baffles me how I even did this. But I literally just did not spend any money. So every morning before I went to work, I would check in. I would be like, this is where my bank account is at today. This is what I have spent. This is what I haven't spent. This is what I'm spending my money on. And yeah, it may seem like a little bit neurotic, but it was honestly because I pulled my life together the month before that I had this time in the morning to sit down, have a little money self-reflection with myself, and then go about my day. And honestly, having that money self-reflection in the morning made me not want to spend any money throughout the day, because I was like, no, I know what my goals are, I know what everything is, and I'm honestly here to achieve them, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's honestly like, I don't want to go too much into like my full morning routine or whatever. If you guys do want to see that, please let me know, because that is something I'd love to share on either here or my personal YouTube. But how getting organized and just creating one thing honestly enlightened me to pay off my debt, and got me to actually do it because I had the money there. So creating a morning routine, creating time in my day to not only have money self-reflection and organize my day-to-day life helped me save so much money, and was probably like the biggest kickstart into paying off all of my debt, and also probably one of the biggest areas where I realized that I was saving the most money, and all of that saved money went to paying off all of my debt. So that is how creating a morning routine really helped me. So this got a little bit rambly about my life, but if you guys would like to see more into this, because I feel like I just have so much to talk about it all, and I just sort of go off on a tangent. So I'm trying to keep them structured and to the point. But if you guys would like to see more on this, please let me know. I will link down below Broke Blogger's Instagram, my personal YouTube. I know I've got a lot going on, but it will all be linked down below. Come and follow, like, subscribe, comment, you know the whole drama. Please let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.